Good morning, friends. Well, everybody online and everybody who's here, wonderful gathering, celebration of Tony's life. His death is still a surprise for some of us. We expect him to turn up in the usual places, speak his truth in precise words as he did, and bringing his freshly baked oat and golden syrup slices to meeting, and getting on with things. So Tony managed to keep himself going since Bev died 2 years ago with wonderful support from Julia. And when he died on the 16th of December, he was ready to go after a long-lived life, a good life. Tony was part of Quakers for a long time, and this room has been part of his Quaker history. It was the room where he and Bev married 25 years ago. And Quakers has been a spiritual home for him. In that spirit, I ask that we start with a moment of silence and stillness. So my name is Elizabeth Poe, and I'm a member of Quakers in Western Australia, and it's my sad honour to be, not that I'm sad to be doing this, but I tell you what, it's a sad honour to be helping us all through this memorial for Tony. But I'm very grateful to be here too, because there's some who cannot be here, and we wish they could be, and they've been prevented because of ill health or distance, and we know that they are with us. Maybe they're online, maybe they're holding us in the light as we sit during this morning's memorial. If you haven't come across Quakers much before today, and I think quite a few of you have, but one description is that we meet with a deep understanding and experience of that of God in everyone, in all people, in all things, which translate to everyone being considered equal, precious, and unique. And this suited Tony very well in his strivings for peace and social justice in the world through his life. Now, there's a little bit of housekeeping. There's 2 bathrooms, one inside and one outside. And this beautiful old house has been part of Quakers for a long time and is a delightful place to come and visit. And I was at, my meeting is Fremantle meeting, which is the meeting that Tony most often came to recent years. And so it's a great pleasure for me to be at this as well. There's a wonderful spread of refreshments, which is available through this door, sorry, those online, and outside for us to enjoy afterwards. And we'll be finishing up our morning session at around 11:30. In these times, please turn off your phones, because we know that they can interrupt an adventurous, noisy celebration, and it can also interrupt a quiet, peaceful silence. And there are people watching this memorial online via the cameras, and this is the machine that has the cameras in it. So I'm standing. In Quakers, we do stand to speak, and I'll be asking everyone to stand and speak, and you'll be seen by people online and by the recording that is happening of this session through these cameras, and you'll be heard by this machine. So you will speak clearly and loud, and you will take your mask off before you speak if you're wearing one. And the reason I'm wearing a mask is I recovered from COVID 2 weeks ago, but I'm still actually recovering. And some people know that social distancing is still happening, so masks are optional. You're very welcome to wear them. Now, the Quaker aspect of this gathering is not just a place, this same room where Bev and Tony were wedded 25 years ago, but also in the way we ask everyone to help make this meeting a deepening and spirit-led memorial. The Quaker gathering, known as the Meeting for Worship, is a chance to connect with ourselves and each other through something similar to a wonderful piece of music. However, it's through quiet and stillness and an attention to that enlivening spark of life, some say of light, that is honoured in so many religious words and writings. It could be described as a holy attentiveness. And so when people do speak, listeners can acknowledge that person is speaking their truth and expressing from their own experience. And we encourage a short pause after someone has finished speaking, and that short pause allows some quiet for the words to find their space inside each of us. So before I describe the flow of the morning's proceedings, we'll take a moment to acknowledge the ancient lineage of elders of this land, their tending and caring for this country in which we meet, and their ongoing connection to these places where we live, grow, work, and love together. We are part of their living legacy of caring for country, belonging to country, just by virtue of living here or visiting. The plan for this morning's gathering is to hear favourite music of Tony's. Not just his own compositions, but also others he loved, like the Vaughan Williams we heard just now. And during music, there will be a number of photos on rotation, and they'll be showing on this wall screen, which at the moment shows some of the people who are online and this meeting room. When each piece of music finishes, the slideshow will pause and we will have, now this is something perhaps a bit different, we'll have an open opportunity for those gathered here to speak briefly, as there are many of us in the room, and with elements of a Quaker meeting for worship. So listening to the promptings of love and truth in our hearts, an active listening practiced by Quakers for over 350 years. We sit quietly, allowing stillness to bring us closer to an experience of whatever we name the divine spark or God in our life. There is a silence and stillness which starts inside us that is, we hope, a sense of peace. And this is an inkling of what Tony experienced and we experienced during our meeting for worship every Sunday. So if anyone's moved to speak out of the silent waiting, to offer a reflection or treasured memory, Tony, and we do have some that have been sent in that will be read out, but we won't be accepting any in the chat, that will be accepted later. Speak loud and clear, as I said, remove your mask and keep it as brief. Come in, if you're waiting outside, please do come in. There's 6. Yeah. Welcome. So if anyone is moved to speak out of the silence, they're welcome to do so in those spaces in between the music. And please stand where you are. Take off your mask if you're wearing one, and speak loud and clear so this machine can hear and see you, and we can all hear you. And I'm asking you to keep it brief, as there are a lot of us, and yet honour the spirit of what it is you want to say. So there may be comfortable silences. That's a friendly reflection time. And these will continue until we're ready for the next piece of music. So it'll be a flow, music and offerings. And I'm not going to talk much more, but there's a little bit more. For those of you who are here and those who are watching the gathering, there may be thoughts that arise and become clear, but rather than share them in this space, you may not feel it's the time to, or you may not get a chance to share everything you would like to say. Please either send them to Tony's daughter Julia or to the Quaker meeting here, or there is, as Julia is reminding me, which I have not been, there's a book and some lovely coloured pens, and this will be in the kitchen afterwards. Please write things down also. And this will all be included as part of our development of the testimony to the grace of God in the life of Tony Noakes, which is part of the Quaker memorialised somebody's life in the meeting. So now, friends, we're going to go to Tony's next choice of music. The first was Vaughan Williams Symphony No.8. This one is By Tony, and several of them are by Tony. This one's the first Vaughan, with words by Jack Davis.
Before it starts, can I just say a few words about this one? Sorry. This was a piece of music my dad wrote for Bev in her honour, which he posted to her before getting engaged. Bev did not read music, and she wasn't yet ready to announce to all of her friends that she and my dad were together. She was therefore embarrassed and unwilling to send it to people, and had to just hold it and wait until my dad arrived and could play it for her.
Where are my firstborn, said the brown land sighing. They came out of my womb long, long ago. They were formed of my dust. Why are they crying? And the light of their being barely aglow. I strain my ears for the sound of their laughter. Where are the laws and the legends I gave? Tell me what happened. You're my bar after. Only the spirits dwell in the caves. You are silent, you cringe from replying. A question is there like a blow on the face. The answer is there when I look at the dying, at the death and neglect of my dark brown
saying that it's Vallentine, a very kind and generous man. Our families go back a long way. My mother's family was sending this family in food parcels during World War II. And it was only when I got older and realised how young Tommy was during the war with rationing that it made sense that his eating style was the way it was. And I would have thought for a young man growing up, shortage of food would have been a huge issue. So anyway, I first met Tony in 1958 when I was 6, and my father got a job in London and we transferred over there. So I'm off to meet the family, and we're meeting Tony with his parents for the first time. So I'm 6, we wrote, my sister is 3 and 8, and so this young man is going to entertain us, shut kids up. And I thought, what on earth is this, this Australian bloke? What's this man going to really please your girls? In true architect style, he built these beautiful marble-sized blocks and bits of cardboard and they zigzag and went all over the room. And they were fantastic. I had this wow of a time, and I thought, oh, this is great. I hadn't come across an English gentleman before that started my concept of an English gentleman. And then, 73, my younger sister and I did the Europe's England thing. And Tony and a great choice of wife, his lovely wife, Julie's mother, we managed to board there for about 9 months, which was fantastic, extremely generous. And I brought so much away with me, and eternally grateful for that. No solace or enjoy the same generosity. And then the next time I met him, I can't remember the year actually, but he came out to visit us. It was just after Louie had died, and he never planned a trip, and he decided to come anyway, and that's when we met Kev. So, wife number 2, fantastic choice again. So I've just always enjoyed his kindness, his generosity, his intellect, and had some fantastic conversations with him. And yeah, he was just terrific, and I will miss him very much. I'm sorry he's gone. Thank you.
The second of Tony's songs that we're going to hear is called The Track, and it's by Tony and Laury Wells.
The track is my companion, a quiet eternal friend. For so alike together we have no journey's end. I find joy in roving this land eternally. Beyond each lofty mountain and valley I must see. The track is my companion, whichever way it lies, and I'll remain a pilgrim until the day I die.
Thank you so much for letting me speak. My name is Patrick Cornish. I keep my voice very brief. I got to know Bev when she was doing history of Alliance Française and got to know them over the years. My reason for speaking today is because a couple of years ago I had the privilege of writing Bev's obituary for the West Australia. Significantly, Tony was very reluctant to talk about his own achievements on that day. He was more concerned that I know about his own Alliance Française there. And it's significant to me that the next song we shall hear is She Walks in Beauty by Tony. It could apply to Julia or to Bev. Thank you very much.
She walks in beauty like the night of cloudless climes and starry skies, and all that's best of dark and bright meet in her aspect and her eyes, thus mellowed to that tender light which hen to gaudy day denies. One shade or more, one ray the less, had half impaired a nameless grace, which waves in every raven tress, or softly lightens o'er her face, where thoughts serenely sweet express how pure, how dear their dwelling place. And on that cheek and o'er that brow, so soft, so calm, yet eloquent, the smiles that win, the tints that glow, but tell of days in goodness spent, a mind at peace with all below, a heart whose love is innocent.
The previous song ended with I will be a pilgrim all my life, I think. And I'd like to think that that reflects something deeper in Tony. It's been mentioned that he was a gentleman, literally a gentle man, as we all remember him, and an essentially modest one. He in his architectural career, he eschewed the grand, lucrative projects of corporate headquarters and fine houses to concentrate on hospitals, and more particularly in better mental health buildings, facilities in London but elsewhere. But underneath that mildness, modesty, and kindness, I think there beat the heart of a real idealist, a champion of social justice, a champion of music and literature, particularly where they combine in songs. I visited him almost every day for the last few weeks and months, and he talked a lot, not about frustration and being in pain, although he would mention those, but he talked about his life, his friends, and we talked a lot about love and kindness in the abstract. And that comes through in his music. It is simple and modest, but he tried always, as we have said, as Elizabeth has said, to contact his truth through the simplest means. And I think that's why music was always so important. And for all of you and everyone listening, I think his catalogue of compositions is really his biography, not least because almost every work is dedicated to someone for a very specific reason. It might be the text, it might be the instrument that they played, it might be the occasion of their birthday, it might be somebody that he admired and he had sent it to. So, like any composer, his music reflects more than pretty things to listen to. And so the Quaker quality of listening is very appropriate. Why he has chosen this. We're invited to share in more than the sound, to the heart of the text and to the heart of the man. And very briefly, he's charged me with trying to disseminate his music, which I will try to do. But to that end, there will be, his scores will be available. I don't know how many of us will use those, but there will be a growing number of things on YouTube. There are CDs out there with the sumptuous feast, many of which feature Marilyn Phillips sitting here, online, and other singers and pianists. Please do help yourself. They are for you. Tony recorded them so that his friends could hear his music.
We shall hear the next piece of music by Tony, and with words by Louie Horne, and it's called Shepherd Boy.
Look after the sheep, they told me, and ran down the hillside and left me behind. What was it they heard in the music? evangelists, how on earth could you have missed such an obvious and able occupant of any stable, who excluded mouse and rat? The harmless necessary cat, who snuggled in with the holy pair, me and my purr. Matthew, Mark, and Luke, and John, who got it wrong, who left out the cat. Remember that wherever he went in this great affair, I was there.
I got to know Tony some years ago through Wilhelmina. Probably know Wilhelmina as talented soprano years ago. But at a Leader Society meeting, Tony's songs were being presented, and Wilhelmina asked Tony if he could pass on some of them to her, and then he did so, and I accompanied Wilhelmina at little music afternoons at her house, and we very, very frequently presented music by Tony, songs by Tony. And in fact, I think I can claim that I was sometimes the first person to present some of his music to an audience. And they were delightful times. It was a delight to know him and Bev. I know I always got a welcome at his house when we went, and he would show me some new music. We'd go through it, and it was always nice coffee and cake. Yeah, I think he was very proud of his cake making, and it was a delight. Not only that, besides his general music, which covered such a wide area, there's so much humor in much of his music. There's feeling, there's love, there's Australiana, there's a love of the English country poems, and he even did me the privilege of putting to music a poem of mine called On Hot Weekends, about a 20 or 24 line poem. And as I say, both Wilhelmina and I were so very fond of Tony and Bev, and we certainly feel the loss. Thank you.
For those of you who don't know Shola, I am Tony's niece through Bev, although he used to teasingly call me his spare daughter when I would call him on Sundays after church. And the thing I think I will miss the most about Tony is his sense of humour. He was incredibly funny right to the end. One of the laughs that Julia and I shared was when he had to have surgery and he was hoping he wasn't going to come around from surgery. And when Julia realised why he kept saying, I've got to do not resuscitate, and she finally worked out, Dad, you're not going to die from this operation. Went, oh, do you mean I'm going to have more porridge and scrambled eggs? And it was, it was a thing he disliked the most at the hospital, although he loved their mushroom sauce and they very kindly sent some to the nursing home. And again, the very fact that they sent mushroom sauce from the hospital to the nursing home was a testimony to Tony. And the fact that wherever he went, people loved him and just saw the generous spirit and the kindness, which, like Robin mentioned, I was very blessed to have when I joined Tony and Ruth and Julia as a 15, almost 16-year-old over 30 years ago in London. I feel, and it was quite an honour when he would, I'd ring him on Sundays after church and he would say, "Is that my spare daughter?" As I, he answered the phone knowing it was only me calling him at that hour of the night because of the time zone difference from London to Australia. Yeah, he was a bit of magic to anyone who met him and knew him in their lives. And we'll miss him, but his memories live on, and they live on through all of us and the stories we can share. Oh, and Chris. Chris Wortham would really have loved to have been here, and he asked us to share with you all his own thoughts. He and Anne, his wife, hosted Bev and Tony's wedding reception, and he was like family to Bev and then later to Tony when he came. He says, a quarter century ago, Anne and I were honoured to host a wedding party for Tony and Bev. We celebrated their lives and were greatly honoured to enjoy their friendship over many years. We rejoiced in all that they were able to celebrate together, especially through the love and company of their beloved Julia.
I didn't prepare anything to say because I didn't know if I'd be able to. I am full of gratitude that my dad, after my mum died, was able to come to Australia and chose to come to Perth so that he would meet up with distant cousins, and had planned to spend more time in the farm and wasn't able to, and so spent more time with Bev than had been intended. And he very, very quickly fell in love. And after 3 days, he held her hand in a car park, and she quickly withdrew her hand and thought, "Who's this crazy Englishman? What's he doing holding my hand?" And he told her, "You must have realised I've fallen in love with you." And then he went to stay for a few days at the farm, came back and spent some more days with Bev, and he put his hand around her shoulder and she didn't move it away. And when he returned to England and wrote and drew pictures and wrote music, that was it was She Walks in Beauty that he sent her. And then got engaged, and months later, Shola and I sat in very similar seats to where we are right now. It's Dad and Bev right in front of this fireplace. I came to Australia and thought, I could do this. I am much more in favour of heat than cold, and I am enjoying this weather today. I think as a child, you take for granted your parents, and you don't realise until much later how lucky you are, if you have been lucky, as lucky as I have been. My dad was so in love with Bev and missed her so much and was so ready to go that it really, although I miss him greatly, I know that this is what he wanted, and I'm so grateful for the people around him that have known him and love him because he was such a lovable person. Thank you for the things that you have given to him and have been able to receive from him. Thank you to all of you who are online and unable to attend in person. Much, much love to you as well.
So now we're going to play the next piece of music. The second one that we heard that was unexpected was Cat in the Manger, Tony. And this next one's called The Rabbits, also by Tony.
There once was a rabbit developed the habit of twitching the end of his nose. His sisters and brothers and various others said, "Notice the way that it goes." Then one clever bunny said, "That's rather funny," and practiced it down in the dell. The rest said, "If he can, I'm positive we can," and did it remarkably well. Now all the world over, where rabbits eat clover and burrow and scratch with their toes, there isn't a rabbit who hasn't the habit of twitching the end of his nose.
Friends, a message from our good friend Joe Vallentine, who I believe is also online with us today and had an unfortunate accident not long ago, so couldn't make it today. A story from her. Tony joined People for Nuclear Disarmament soon after he settled in Perth. We were very glad of his presence at our meetings and also at our regular city vigils on the corner of Hay and William Streets over the years. Another strong connection was the support of this meeting, the WA regional meeting here, and the Australian yearly meeting of Quakers that gave to the campaign to have Bev's sister, Phyllis Cord, and brother-in-law, Bernard, and fellow prisoners released from unjust imprisonment in Grenada. I remember well Phil, Tony and Bev visiting our home just around the corner when Phil had been released due to ill health, but Bernard and others were still incarcerated and facing the death penalty. Eventually, they were all released, and Bernard and Phil enjoyed some twilight years in their beloved Jamaica, while both wrote books, setting the record straight about what had occurred during the US invasion of Grenada.
So something sent in by Marilyn Bloomfield, which we're here today. She writes, Tony was a very kind and talented man who restored Bev's faith in marriage after her first husband so cruelly betrayed her. They had a wonderful 20+ years together in harmony and love, and my husband and I enjoyed their company and friendship on many occasions. Rest in peace, Tony, with my blessings.
So friends, the last two pieces of music are not Tony's, they are by Delius. They're from Songs of Farewell. The one we're going to hear now is number 3, the Songs of Farewell, called Passage to You.
come very much for the meeting. With spirit and in place. Certainly, any improvements, changes we made to the old house, nearly 100 years old. Tony had an eye on it. Looked at the plans we had, quotes, detailed, very wry and intelligent man. He was careful, and we managed quite well in the years. Persistent attention to detail. I'll always remember Tony, his will to give more than to take, and he's left behind a legacy. Where for me.
I'm really glad, and I just want to say something about the happiness of ourselves. That marriage, the second marriage, I never had the good luck of me to especially one. But I certainly did live better with. And when I do like the way that Tony celebrated those meaningful times in Malta. When we turned 70, he had arranged with some friends a lot of things to get into. And I'm sure when we were there, we had a chapel Saturday, the same too. But afterwards, I had a lovely little talk with Beverly, and she just had so much time in the city, so much love for Tony, and she just couldn't believe she was so lucky to meet this wonderful man who had all his talents and was musical and poetic and creative and architect. And it was just a lovely little picture that I just wanted to pass on because it was one of my favourite moments in it was about Tony for his Europe. Yeah.
My name is David. First met Tony about 15 years ago when he was chasing my wife. He was running a walking group in Subiaco, and Tony at that time decided he wanted to take some exercise, and we all. Anyway, he joined our group, and we walked around various places in Subiaco, gradually slowing down. We did other things as well. I was in the book club in the library, and so were Tony and Bev. They made an excellent team, wordsmiths both of them, and commenting on the books. Words mattered to Tony, and I suppose they mattered to me to some extent. And I even enjoyed playing Scrabble with him occasionally. Don't know how many Scrabble players are here. There are some, I'm sure. But the last time I played with Tony was early December. He had one of those mobile kits in the hospital. And I said, what about a quick Scrabble, Tony? Oh, all right. So we got it out, set it up. Do you have to draw a letter? You know this game? Get 7 letters and put them on board. So we got his 7 letters, looked at them. Well, I've got an A here or something, so he went first. So I was pondering about what I could do with my awful letters, and he put down his 7 letters. Double bullets in the middle. All right, that's a bit unusual. Well done, Tony, so I put down my little 3-letter word, and it was his turn again, wasn't it? He drew those 7 letters from the bag. And I went on to keep my awful letters, and we put all his 7 letters down again. Now, I think it's called a bingo in some groups. I've got one bingo from him before, but I've never had 2 in a row. And I thought, Tony, you're in luck, aren't you? Anyway, at that point, I put down my second 3-letter word, and we thought, well, we won't push our luck. We sat down. But little thing like that, I enjoyed life with Tony and with Bev, and we were lucky to know them. All right, and there was a lady in the walking group, and she brought us together. That was good. Thank you very much.
Since we're on the topic of Scrabble, Tony joined the Netherlands Scrabble Club probably about 4 years ago, I think.
and he really enjoyed coming every Tuesday morning. And one of our members is also a poet, and after he died, she wrote a little poem, which I would like to read to you. Tony had a dictionary to reference words unknown. He'd gently turn the pages, then give a little moan. Do you know what that word means? He'd say across the room. We rarely did. He'd tell us, and we'd forget quite soon. So few men come to Scrabble, Tony's attitude was keen, but at tea break making coffee, you could see where Tony'd been. We've a brand new tin of chocolate mix for Tony's morning cup of tea. It sits forgotten on the bench like a symbol of free. That Tony will be missed by us, his knowledge, his gentility, his subtle sense of humour, his kindness and civility. We will remember how he was, his connectedness to us, how we'd often see him standing, waiting for the bus.
I think what I've experienced this morning is the gift, the architect of an ending. And as I've sat with the music and the offerings today, I've thought of these past months, especially since Bev's death, how Tony has been so intent on crafting the ending to great life. And that's what he's offered us today. What a gift.
Well, friends, don't you feel closer to everyone else in the room now, having shared a little bit? And here we are at the end of this part of our Remembering Tony. But of course, we'll go from here and we'll go and share food and drink and chat, kitchen and outside, and we'll feel that we can share a lot more. And of course, writing things in the book, and of course, sending things in, all this. And Julia spoke to us. I'm so grateful. I'm so glad, because Julia really wasn't sure she was going to be able to. The last song will come in a moment. I know Julia has thanked everybody. I'm just going to reiterate that, because the thanks, not from Julia only, but from everybody who has known Tony, is a thanks extended to all the people who've helped make it happen here today. It's been wonderful. And of course, in memory of a life well lived, Tony Noakes. The last song, after which we will move out, is, as I said, Daily, was the Songs of Farewell, Song 4. And if you don't know it, it's called Joy, Shipmates, Joy. Thank you, friends.
Thank you. There's some more messages on the thing.
Thank you.
Modern technologies. Maybe our grandchildren, or our grandchildren will
Yes, exactly.
be second nature.
They're very useful, aren't they?
Thank you all online for joining. Sorry you can't join us for the food.